Welcome back. I'm glad you decided to join me tonight. If you're looking for a thrill and a little chill, you've come to the right place. I've got 6 stories to share with you tonight, stories that I've personally lived through, things that have left me questioning what's real and what's not. Every one of these stories is something I experienced myself. No embellishment. No exaggeration. Just the truth, however strange and unsettling it may be. So, let's get into it. Buckle up, because things are about to get weird. The Watcher in the Woods. Let me start with something that happened a long time ago. It was a summer evening, and I was camping with a group of friends in a remote area deep in the forest. Now, I'm not usually the type to get paranoid when I'm out in the woods, but something about that night was different. We set up camp as the sun went down, and everything was calm. We were sitting around the fire, telling stories, eating marshmallows, and laughing. But then, right as the sky started to turn a deep shade of purple, I felt this strange sensation, a shiver creeping up my spine, like someone was watching me. I tried to brush it off, telling myself it was just the forest sounds, the wind through the trees, maybe even some wild animals. But the feeling didn't go away. It got stronger. I stood up, scanning the edges of the clearing. And that's when I saw it, a figure, standing motionless just at the tree line. It wasn't moving. It didn't even seem like it was breathing. Just this tall, shadowy figure, almost blending into the dark forest. I pointed it out to my friends, but when they looked, it was gone. I thought maybe I had imagined it, but the sensation of being watched didn't leave. Every rustle in the bushes made me jump. The fire crackled, but it felt like there was something more lurking in the night. Later, we found strange, large footprints around our campsite. They weren't animal prints. They were too big, too human. But they didn't look like they belonged to anyone we knew. We packed up and left early the next morning. We never spoke about that night again, but to this day, I can't shake the feeling that whatever it was still out there, watching us. The Forgotten House. The next experience I had happened not long after that camping trip. I was driving home late at night, taking the back roads to save time. There's this one stretch of road I always pass. It's surrounded by dense trees and fields, and there's an old house on the side of the road that's been abandoned for as long as I can remember. But that night, something was different. As I neared the house, I noticed a light in one of the windows, dim, almost flickering, but definitely there. This house never had any lights on. It was always dark, its windows boarded up, the garden overgrown. No one had lived there for years. Curiosity got the best of me, so I pulled over to the side of the road and decided to take a closer look. I got out of the car, and the cold air hit me like a wave. The light was still flickering. I thought maybe someone had moved in, so I cautiously walked up the overgrown path toward the house. As I got closer, I could hear soft music playing from inside. It was faint, but clear enough to hear. It sounded like an old lullaby, the kind you'd hear in a vintage movie or something from decades ago. I wasn't sure if I should knock or just leave, but my feet kept moving toward the front door, like I was drawn there against my will. I knocked, but there was no answer. I knocked again, harder this time. Still nothing. I stood there for a few moments, just staring at the door. And that's when I heard it. The sound of a rocking chair. Back and forth. Slow, rhythmic. I stepped closer to the window and peered through the grimy glass. I couldn't make out much, but I saw what I thought was a figure sitting in the chair, rocking slowly. It looked like an elderly woman. Her silhouette was faint, but it was definitely a person. I felt a chill run through me as I knocked one last time, and that's when I heard the voice. soft and raspy, coming from inside the house. "You shouldn't be here." The hair on the back of my neck stood up. I ran back to my car and didn't look back until I was miles away. I never drove down that road again. The hollow voice. Now, this one is more recent, something that happened just a few years ago. I was living alone in a small apartment at the time. It wasn't the best neighborhood, but it was affordable, and I had gotten used to it. The neighbors were quiet, the building was old, but it felt safe enough. One night, around midnight, I was sitting on the couch, watching a movie when I heard something that made me freeze. It was a soft whisper, a voice coming from the walls. At first, I thought it was just the old building settling or maybe the pipes. But the voice wasn't just any voice. It was hollow, empty. Like it wasn't coming from a person at all. I tried to ignore it, but it didn't stop. It kept repeating my name. It was faint, almost inaudible at first, but as I listened more closely, I realized it was coming from inside the walls. It wasn't outside. It was inside my apartment, echoing from the drywall. I tried to convince myself it was just the wind or maybe the pipes creaking, but when I heard it again, louder, more insistent, I knew I wasn't imagining things. I stood up, grabbed a flashlight, and started walking through the apartment, checking each room. The voice was still calling my name. I opened every closet, checked every corner, but there was nothing. Just silence. The whisper kept growing. The air around me felt heavier, colder. It felt like something, or someone, was in the walls, speaking directly to me. I don't know what it was, but I couldn't stay there anymore. I packed up my things and left that same night. To this day, I don't know what I heard, but I'll never go back to that apartment. The road to nowhere. This one happened a few months ago. I was taking a long road trip across the country, just driving through the night, trying to make good time. It was around 3 a.m. when I hit a stretch of highway that felt off. This road was long, isolated, and dark. There were no streetlights, no cars in sight, just me and the open road. I was listening to some music to pass the time when I noticed headlights up ahead. I thought, okay, another car. But as I got closer, something wasn't right. The headlights didn't move. They stayed in the exact same spot, just ahead of me. I thought maybe it was another driver who had pulled over for a break, but no matter how far I drove, I couldn't get any closer to them. The lights were fixed, not moving. I accelerated to close the gap, but they stayed the same distance away. I started to feel uneasy. Something was wrong. The road ahead of me felt like it was stretching on forever, and no matter how fast I drove, I couldn't get any closer to those lights. Eventually, the lights flickered. Then they went out completely, and I was left driving in total darkness. Suddenly, the road disappeared. I slammed on the brakes, my car screeching to a halt as I was surrounded by thick, black fog. I couldn't see a thing. Not the road. Not the trees. Just pure, overwhelming darkness. I don't know how long I sat there, paralyzed with fear, but when I blinked, the fog cleared. The road was there again, normal, but the headlights were gone. I floored the gas pedal and didn't stop until I reached the nearest town. That stretch of highway? Never going back. The knock at midnight. This one is short but unsettling. It was a typical evening. I was home alone, watching TV, winding down for bed. It was just after midnight when I heard a knock at the door. I wasn't expecting anyone, so I hesitated. Maybe it was a neighbor. Maybe it was a delivery. I stood still for a moment, waiting for another knock, but there was nothing. Then, it came again, louder this time. I walked to the door, looked through the peephole, but saw nothing. Just the empty porch, bathed in the dim glow of the streetlight. I opened the door. Nothing. No one was there. But on the ground, right in front of the door, was a small, black stone. It was smooth, almost polished, like it had been carved by hand. I bent down to pick it up, and as soon as I touched it, I felt a chill run through me. That's when I heard it, a whisper, but it wasn't coming from outside. It was in my mind. A voice that sounded like it was coming from behind me. Leave it. I dropped the stone immediately. I didn't look back. I shut the door, locked it, and went to bed. I haven't touched that spot in front of the door since. The shadow in the mirror. This last one still gives me chills. It was a late night, and I was getting ready for bed. As usual, I brushed my teeth and washed my face. I stood in front of the bathroom mirror for a moment, wiping my face dry, when I noticed something strange. There was a shadow behind me. It wasn't mine. It wasn't the reflection of anything in the room. It was just a dark, shifting mass. I turned around quickly, expecting to see something, but there was nothing there. Just the bathroom, empty. I turned back to the mirror, and that's when the shadow moved. Slowly, creeping toward me. I didn't stick around to see what it wanted. I ran out of there so fast, I left the bathroom light on for days. To this day, I can't look at a mirror the same way. And that's all for tonight's stories. If you've ever had a night like mine, filled with eerie, unsettling moments, then you know how real it can feel. That's why I want to tell you about something that might just help you out next time you find yourself in the dark: night vision goggles. You can grab a pair through the link in the description below. High quality, durable, and perfect for any late night explorations or investigations. Trust me, you don't want to be caught in the dark without them. Stay safe out there, and remember, what you can't see just might be watching you.